Most groups or all groups, there's always like a Harry Styles, or you know, in One Direction, or a Beyonce in Destiny's Child. You could argue that I am that of the Sidemen.
You're saying peace on camera right now.
Yeah, but I mentioned the Sidemen boys. I'm gonna get more subscribers than Sidemen, and I'm also gonna get more views than Sidemen.
People want to know, bro.
Yes.
You joining the Sidemen?
Am I joining the Sidemen?
People online have been claiming that KSI stepped away from the Sidemen to chase a more Mr. Beast-style formula, focusing on massive amounts of content that some viewers see as repetitive and lacking the same spark. If you scroll through the reactions under his videos, it's clear that a lot of the comments have been pretty harsh, with critics not holding back at all. One comment summed up the mood by saying, "Bro, quit Sidemen to do this," leaving the best YouTube group ever to make Pop the Balloon videos. Others pushed the criticism even further, clowning the change in direction and questioning why he's making content they see as things like running around Tesco just to rack up views and clicks. The backlash spread quickly across social media, and the jokes only got more extreme. Some commenters even sarcastically acted as if not even the UK government wanted anything to do with the content after a nationwide social media ban for people under 16 was announced. That comparison was clearly meant as an exaggerated joke, but it showed just how brutal and relentless the online reaction had become. For anyone who missed how all of this kicked off, KSI uploaded a video on May 31st titled, "I'm leaving the Sidemen." In the video, he described it as the hardest video I've ever had to make in my life, and explained that he had been going back and forth on the decision for months. The announcement instantly grabbed attention and got fans talking across social media. To make the situation feel even more serious, the Sidemen also released a group statement of their own. But one detail is what really caught people off guard. According to discussions online, some fans believe the rest of the Sidemen may not have known about the decision in advance. Whether accurate or not, that idea changed how many viewers looked at the situation and made the announcement hit a lot harder.
Around Tesco for click.
In the group statement, the Sidemen said, "The news came as a surprise to us." That line immediately grabbed people's attention. Then, in the video that many viewers believed was recorded afterward, the reactions made it seem like the group had no idea the announcement was coming. That's the part that made a lot of fans stop and take a second look. These are people often described as KSI's closest friends, almost like brothers, and they've been creating content together for more than 12 years. Based on how fans discussed the situation online, many were surprised by the possibility that there may not have been a private heads-up beforehand. Whether that perception was accurate or not, it added another layer of drama to the story. The conversation got even louder when JJ responded to the Sidemen announcement with a heart emoji and then later deleted it. That small move sparked even more speculation online, with fans trying to figure out what it meant and whether there was more happening behind the scenes than people originally thought. People instantly treated that deleted heart emoji like a small detail hiding a much bigger story, and it only added to the strange atmosphere surrounding the whole situation. For his part, KSI explained that his decision was tied to burnout, demanding filming schedules, work-life balance, and wanting to spend more time with his family and partner. On the surface, plenty of people felt those reasons sounded completely reasonable and understandable. Most viewers had no issue with that explanation at first, but as the conversation kept growing, older clips started circulating online again. According to critics, some of KSI's past comments didn't seem to match up perfectly with the reasons he was giving now. That disconnect became another talking point, giving people even more to debate across social media and comment sections.
Monday the 31st, and I am going to Soccer Aid, not to play, no. I'm going to support Ethan, Toby and Ginge, as well as, you know, everyone else there, charity, etc. I mean, you may have seen the news that has just been dropped. I didn't know that video was going out now, so I'm expecting a lot of people to just ask me about that.
Then more old clips started making the rounds, and according to critics online, they made KSI's departure look even more uncomfortable. In one clip often shared by commenters, KSI is reported to have said, "Every group has a superstar, and in the Sidemen, he is the Harry Styles, he's the Beyonce, and the others are basically the backup." That quote quickly became a major talking point and sparked plenty of debate across social media. The comparison alone got a strong reaction from viewers. Many comments focused on how surprising it sounded, given that these are people he has reportedly been friends with for well over a decade. Online, some critics interpreted the remark as putting one person at the center while downplaying the rest of the group. Whether that was the intention or not, the clip gave people another reason to pick apart the situation, and the discussion only kept getting louder from there. Another resurfaced clip appeared to show KSI saying, "I get more views than all of the Sidemen in 1 month. I need to be bigger than Mr. Beast and I show speed." Once that clip started spreading, the conversation took on a very different tone. For many viewers, the situation no longer looked as simple as someone stepping back because they needed more personal time or a break from a demanding schedule. Online, critics began connecting different pieces of the story together. The timing of the announcement, the older clips being rediscovered, and the way the departure was revealed. From there, a much tougher narrative started to form. Some people said the burnout explanation sounded completely reasonable by itself, but felt more difficult to reconcile once those past comments were brought back into the spotlight and examined alongside everything else. What made the debate even more intense was the contrast people were drawing. On one side was the image of a close-knit group built over many years, with fans investing in the friendship, chemistry, and shared history that helped make the Sidemen so popular. On the other side, critics were framing KSI as someone focused on reaching a bigger level of influence, chasing larger audiences, and building a stronger solo brand. Whether that interpretation was fair or not, it became a major part of the discussion and drove even more reactions across social media. That gap between the two narratives is what made the reaction feel so intense. In internet culture, perception can take over incredibly fast, and once enough people decide a move looks calculated, every little detail starts getting viewed through the same lens. The deleted heart emoji, the surprise statement from the group, and the resurfaced clips that critics pointed to as examples of ego-driven comments all became pieces of a much larger theory online. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, the speculation clearly gained serious momentum. What started as an emotional announcement about stepping away from the Sidemen quickly evolved into a much bigger debate. As more people shared opinions, theories, and old clips, the story became increasingly complicated, turning a personal decision into a full-blown online controversy that kept attracting attention from every angle.
Most groups or all groups, there's always like a Harry Styles, or in One Direction, or a Beyonce in Destiny's Child. You could argue that I am that of the Sidemen.
Visually, outside looking in, when you think about the Sidemen, it will always be KSI.
But that's just because, I've done more.
That quickly became the conclusion that many people online jumped to. According to some of the harsher takes circulating on social media, this was never purely about burnout or needing a better work-life balance. Critics started arguing that KSI may have felt he had outgrown the Sidemen brand, believing his goals and ambitions were now operating on a much larger scale than the group format could offer. In that version of the story, the real issue wasn't exhaustion at all, it was ambition. Commenters framed the situation as KSI wanting more than being one of 7 personalities in a Sidemen video. They pointed to popular recurring formats, like the Tinder videos, and argued that he may have been looking beyond that style of content. Instead, critics suggested he was focused on pursuing larger-scale projects and reaching the kind of massive audience often associated with creators like Mr. Beast or I Show Speed. Whether accurate or not, that narrative spread rapidly and became a major part of the online discussion. Then, viewers started focusing on another detail that only added more fuel to the discussion. KSI's head of content, Mo Syed, posted a tweet that read, "The fastest way to grow in 2026 isn't staying in the same circle doing the same collabs. Most creators spend years only making content for the same audience. We're showing that real growth comes from building bridges into completely different worlds, from football to cricket, from the UK to India." That post immediately caught people's attention, and a lot of critics began reading between the lines. When they looked at the timing and wording, some interpreted it as a message about creators limiting their growth by sticking with the same collaborations and the same audience. Many viewers quickly connected that idea to the Sidemen formula, which had already become a major topic of debate following KSI's announcement. It's important to note that this interpretation remained exactly that, an interpretation. The claims being made online were unverified, and neither the tweet nor its author directly mentioned the Sidemen. Still, that didn't stop people from speculating. Critics argued that the wording sounded strikingly similar to the conversation already taking place around KSI's departure, and some even described it as one of the clearest indirect references anyone in his circle could have posted publicly. What made the reaction even stronger was the source of the comment itself. This wasn't being treated as a random opinion from an outsider or a fan account. Because the tweet came from someone closely connected to KSI's content operation, many viewers paid far more attention to it, and the discussion around its meaning exploded across social media. Because the comment came from someone closely connected to KSI's content strategy, many viewers saw it as more than just a casual opinion. People began treating it as a possible glimpse into how the decision was being viewed behind the scenes. According to the online conversation, that wasn't even the only post from people around JJ that ended up sparking debate. Before long, some of the backlash shifted away from KSI directly and toward members of his wider team, especially one person that fans kept bringing up on Twitter. According to critics online, that individual's feed came across as a constant celebration of the role he had allegedly played in helping shape KSI's success. That perception didn't sit well with many Sidemen fans at all. Some viewers felt the post sounded overly self-congratulatory, and the reactions quickly became intense. One especially harsh comment read, "Trying way too hard to copy Mr. Beast. JJ's a host that doesn't have the same persona. People online are saying you damaged his career, you absolute fat leech." Legit sapped any originality or creativity out of him and whispered this in his ear to become Dollar Store Mr. Beast. That was clearly an extremely emotional and hostile reaction, not a measured critique. However, it highlighted just how heated the discussion had become. As frustration continued to build across social media, some critics also started linking those complaints back to KSI himself, arguing that the direction of his content was becoming part of a much larger debate about his future and the path he wanted to take. In the eyes of some critics, the growing confidence, the bigger ambitions, and the changes in KSI's content over the past couple of years all seemed to connect into one larger story. To those viewers, the shift didn't feel random. Some fans even described it as personal, and they began sharing screenshots and view count comparisons that they believed showed his solo content wasn't performing the way many expected after the departure announcement. One post claimed, "Inter has absolutely mogged ex-Sidemen member KSI, despite having half as many subscribers. KSI's career seems to be on a downward trajectory post-Sidemen departure, with Mini Mentor getting 1 million views in a day, whilst KSI only got 700, now 1 in a day."
You're saying peace on camera right now.
Yeah, but I mentioned the Sidemen boys. I'm gonna get more subscribers than Sidemen, and I'm also gonna get more views than Sidemen. So I've got more views than Sidemen in a month. So now I just need to get more subscribers. Yeah. And then it's just keep it up, and then it's like, all right, cool. I'm looking at speed now. I need to try and get more views than speed, and I need to get more.
You're on smoke.
Yeah. And then after speed, who's next? Until I get to Jimmy.
Another commenter wrote, "I never focused on views until KSI said he was going to smoke everyone. It started poorly for the lad." Those posts quickly became part of a wider discussion, with people comparing statistics and building larger arguments around them. From there, viewers started stacking channel numbers side by side and using them to support their opinions. According to claims circulating online at the time, Mr. Beast was said to be pulling around 67 million views, Mini Minter around 1.2 million, the Sidemen around 1.9 million, and JJ around 900,000 on comparable uploads. Critics pointed to those figures as evidence that the solo pivot wasn't delivering the kind of impact they expected. At the same time, many of those same critics argued that the content itself was part of the issue. Looking at KSI's recent uploads, some viewers felt the videos lacked the freshness and unpredictability they once associated with his channel. Whether that criticism was fair or not, it became another major talking point in the growing debate surrounding his move away from the Sidemen. That's exactly why the reaction kept snowballing. Once viewers believe a creator has made a major bet on themselves, every new upload gets judged through a completely different lens. Instead of being viewed as a standalone video, each release starts being treated as evidence that the gamble is either paying off or going badly wrong. Fair or unfair, that seemed to be how a lot of people were looking at KSI's situation. And once that mindset takes hold online, nuance tends to disappear very quickly. Supporters continued to argue that KSI was simply trying to evolve, experiment with new ideas, and move into a different space creatively. Critics, however, looked at the exact same decision and came away with a very different conclusion. Some interpreted the shift as being driven more by ambition, scale, and building a bigger personal brand than by creative growth. In their view, the move created distance from the group identity that many fans had connected with for years. That's what made the debate so intense. This was no longer just a discussion about thumbnails, video formats, or who was getting better numbers on a particular day. According to the online reaction, the conversation had grown into something much larger, a debate about loyalty, self-image, and whether stepping away from a long-running group exposed issues that some fans felt had been hiding in plain sight all along. By this stage, people were no longer reacting only to the announcement itself. Many were reacting to what they believed the decision revealed about KSI's mindset, the people around him, and the direction his content was heading afterward. That's a big reason why the next wave of criticism hit even harder and gained so much traction online. A major complaint from from critics was that the new content strategy appeared heavily influenced by the Mr. Beast style formula. Massive titles, huge numbers, attention-grabbing concepts, and videos built to create instant curiosity. To some viewers, the focus seemed less about the content itself and more about making sure people clicked in the first place. Online, some critics dismissed the approach as content where the thumbnail and headline were doing most of the heavy lifting, while the actual video felt like an afterthought. That criticism alone sparked plenty of debate, but another detail gave the backlash even more weight in the eyes of many viewers. People began resurfacing an older KSI quote from 2017. At the time, he had publicly criticized creators he believed were prioritizing money, attention, and popularity over meaningful content. According to comments attributed to him from that period, he argued that this kind of approach was making YouTube feel less authentic and damaging the platform's overall culture. Once those older remarks were brought back into the conversation, critics quickly started comparing them to the direction they felt his content had taken in recent years.
To do with YouTube. I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. I had to keep up with a persona that was just so taxing on me and my general well-being, to be honest. And I don't know, but in my opinion, YouTube has changed a lot. I don't believe it's about the you in YouTube anymore. Gone are the days where people would just make videos for fun. Now it's all about people making videos for monetary gain. YouTubers now have directors, editors, cameramen, and other things to help them out. Whereas before, it was only the YouTuber that would do that themselves. That essentially is the game right now. That is the YouTube game. That's how you remain relevant nowadays. And personally, I just don't want to be a part of that game anymore. From now on, I'm going to be making content that I want to put up. I just hated how YouTube became like a chore for me, having to always keep up with these bullshit trends and shit. I started making videos because that's what I wanted to do. Like from the beginning, it was just fun for me. I just enjoyed doing it. So I feel like I want to end doing videos that I want to do rather than doing videos that people want me to.
And that's why so many critics focused on what they saw as a contradiction. Online, some viewers argued that KSI now appeared to be creating the same type of content he had criticized years earlier. Whether that comparison was fair or not, it gave people another angle to attack the decision and made the backlash feel even more intense. What added to the criticism, at least from the perspective of many commenters, was seeing references to the Sidemen begin appearing in some of his video titles. Critics argued that it looked like an attempt to draw additional attention by leaning on the group's name and reputation. That perception didn't sit well with people who were already skeptical about the solo direction. For many of those critics, though, the issue went far beyond the videos themselves. They believed the debate was really about the message behind the move and what it seemed to represent to longtime fans who had followed the group's journey for years. Critics also pointed to KSY's involvement as a founder of Prime and Lunchly when discussing the bigger picture. Prime, the hydration drink that exploded in popularity, later became the subject of online jokes from people claiming the initial hype had cooled off and that products were no longer selling with the same momentum. Whether those claims reflected reality or not, they became part of the wider conversation surrounding KSI's public image. Then came Lunchly. The brand launched alongside Mr. Beast and Logan Paul, and that sparked another wave of debate. Creators such as Dan TDM and Jacksepticeye publicly voiced concerns, while discussions online included criticism about the quality of the products and how they were being marketed. The accusations remained disputed, but they attracted significant attention and added another layer to the ongoing controversy. What made all of this resonate with critics was the timing. Once viewers began connecting the content changes, the business ventures, and the older clips being resurfaced across social media, the conversation started to feel much bigger than a typical rough patch in public opinion. In the eyes of many commenters, it became a debate about credibility and consistency. And when a creator's credibility becomes part of the discussion, that's often a far more difficult challenge to move past than criticism aimed at a single video or project. When people believe they've spotted a gap between what someone used to stand for and what they're doing now, every new move starts getting viewed through that suspicion. Supporters may see ambition, growth, and a creator trying new things. Critics, however, often look at the exact same choices and come away with a completely different conclusion. In this case, some viewers were framing KSI's decisions as overly calculated, highly polished, and disconnected from the version of JJ they felt they had followed for years. That's why the reaction carried far more weight than a few negative comments or viral memes. According to the way the situation was being discussed online, the debate had grown into something much bigger. For many critics, it was no longer just about whether the videos were entertaining. It became a question of authenticity, whether the solo direction felt genuine, natural, and worth the trade-off that some fans believed came with stepping away from the Sidemen. And once that kind of narrative gains momentum online, it has a way of pulling everything else into the same storm. View counts start getting treated like final judgments. Video titles get dissected as if they're evidence in a larger case. Old quotes and past interviews get resurfaced and interpreted in the most critical way possible. Fair or unfair, that seemed to be the atmosphere taking shape, and it set the stage for an even more serious wave of criticism that followed. A large part of the backlash seemed to revolve around what critics viewed as a broader pattern. In online discussions, some commenters argued that over the last several years, KSI has expanded into multiple businesses, products, and content ventures that they believe are heavily focused on attracting attention and building massive audiences. That perception became a major talking point as the debate continued to grow. That's also why older clips kept getting pulled back into the spotlight. Critics pointed to the 2017 version of KSI, the one who publicly criticized creators he felt were prioritizing money, popularity, and trends over substance. They argued that, from their perspective, his current direction appeared much closer to the type of approach he once spoke against. Whether that comparison was fair or not, it became a recurring argument across social media and comment sections. Within that framework, leaving the Sidemen wasn't being viewed as a simple career change. According to much of the online reaction, some viewers saw it as the next step in what they described as a more polished and less relatable phase of his career. Because despite any criticism fans may have had of the Sidemen over the years, many still felt that version of KSI came across as the most genuine, just 7 longtime friends having fun together, creating content naturally, and not seeming overly focused on every strategic move or business decision. That's exactly why the situation struck such a nerve with so many people. In online discussions, some critics compared KSI's newer direction to the highly produced, large-scale style of content they associate with creators like Mr. Beast. In those conversations, that approach was often described as more corporate, more calculated, and more focused on reach and growth than on individual personality or spontaneity. To those viewers, it seemed like KSI was moving further away from the content style that originally felt relatable and authentic. Instead, they felt he was leaning into something much more polished and carefully packaged, making it harder for them to connect with the version of him they had followed for years. Then another clip entered the discussion and added even more attention to the debate. People began sharing a podcast moment that some viewers interpreted as KSI appearing genuinely confident that he was bigger than iShowSpeed, while others in the room seemed surprised by the comment. That reading of the clip quickly spread online. Critics used the moment as yet another example of what they believed was a growing gap between how KSI viewed his own position and how parts of the audience viewed it. Whether that interpretation was accurate or not, the clip became another widely discussed piece of the larger controversy surrounding his recent decisions and public image.
Okay, who do you think's more famous? Me or Speed?
Speed, mate.
You're mental, bro.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Speed.
you're
I'm sorry.
You're
I'm sorry.
just living in this bubble.
No, just what are you on about? I'm sorry, mate. Like,
Who is more famous as a person, not name?
Speed.
No.
I'm saying Speed.
No. Amazon Prime.
Speed is so much more mainstream. Speed is so much more
You're
mainstream.
mental.
The Chinese government.
Amazon Prime, though.
The Chinese government thanked him for coming to their country.
In our little social media bubble, yes.
The Chinese government is not in our social media bubble.
No, but then.
So the big question became, what happens next? As the debate continued, some fans online started floating the idea that KSI's brother, comedy shorts gamer, better known as Deji, could potentially fill the gap in the Sidemen. At first, the suggestion got some support, with a number of viewers saying they wouldn't be completely opposed to seeing him involved more closely with the group. But that idea quickly ran into criticism of its own. As soon as Deji's name started gaining traction in the conversation, some commenters began resurfacing older clips and moments from his content history. One particular clip was repeatedly mentioned by critics, who argued that it raised questions about whether he would be the right fit. Those discussions immediately made the debate more complicated and far more divisive online. That's where the conversation started moving beyond a simple discussion about who could replace KSI. People weren't just debating personalities anymore. They were weighing public image, past controversies, reputation, and how older content can be viewed years later when it's brought back into the spotlight. Once a discussion reaches that stage, things can get messy very quickly. A casual fan suggestion can suddenly turn into a much larger argument about standards, credibility, and which creators' audiences are willing to support moving forward. Supporters might see those conversations as simple nostalgia or harmless what-if discussions among fans. Critics, however, often approach resurfaced clips very differently. In many cases, they treat old moments as signs of something larger, using them to make broader judgments about a person's public image or character. That shift is important because it changes the entire focus of the conversation. Instead of discussing chemistry, entertainment value, or whether a replacement would even make sense for the group, the spotlight quickly moves toward reputation and past controversies. Once that happens, the debate usually becomes much more intense and far more personal. In online spaces, that often means discussions become harder to control and more emotionally charged. Rather than answering the original question, the replacement idea seemed to create a whole new avenue for scrutiny. Attention was pulled away from the future of the Sidemen and redirected toward older clips, public perception, and criticism of people connected to the situation. That's where the story started feeling less like speculation about what comes next for the group, and more like another example of how quickly online backlash can expand. What begins with one person can rapidly spread to everyone around them, turning a single controversy into a much wider conversation.
People want to know, bro.
Yes.
You joining the Sidemen?
Am I joining the Sidemen? Alright, so I can't lie, we're in talks right now.
No.
We're in deadass, we're in talks. We're in talks.
Say you swear to God.
Like me and the Sidemen, we sat down at the round table and we we got all our armor out and everything. We're just like there being like,
Contracts being signed?
Like, what, yeah, so there was papers and everything. And then, and Josh was like, good sir. We would like you to join the men of Side. And I was there like, ooh.
Oh my God, you have a ritual. It's a ritual.
No, close. So when I do join, they get a knife, and they like do the knife thing.
All because you're Londonese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it can't be a sword, it has to be a knife, like, you know, like mandem and that.
Ah.
As for KSI, many people online think the direction he's heading in looks fairly clear. Based on how critics and supporters alike have been reading the situation, he seems likely to continue leaning into larger-scale, high-concept content that many viewers compare to the Mr. Beast-style formula. He's already stepped into a new judging role on Britain's Got Talent, and a lot of people see that as another sign of him moving further into a mainstream entertainment lane. When you look at everything connected to his name, Prime, Lunchley, Misfits Boxing, music, and his football club involvement, it's not hard to understand why some viewers believe the Sidemen setup may feel smaller compared to the wider business and media empire he's built. From that perspective, critics argue that group videos may no longer hold the same level of importance they once did in his career. As for the Sidemen, most signs suggest they'll continue moving forward without major issues. The group still has 6 longtime members who have spent more than a decade building chemistry, creating content, and growing a massive audience together. They also have established brands, successful video formats, live events, and a loyal fan base that helped make them one of YouTube's biggest groups. By all appearances, they've made it clear they plan to keep going, as if this new chapter won't slow them down at all. Some fans have even argued that certain Sidemen videos feel smoother without JJ dominating as much screen time, saying the rest of the group gets more room to shine and create memorable moments. Others completely disagree and believe his personality was a huge part of what made the group's dynamic work in the first place. After everything that's happened, the debate is still wide open. Was stepping away the right move for KSI's future, or were critics right to question the motivations behind it? That's the question that continues to divide fans across social media and comment sections. If you enjoyed this breakdown of KSI, the Sidemen, and the ongoing debate around authenticity, ambition, and online perception, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear where you stand on the situation, and I'll catch you in the next one.